Welcome to VW Classic Fix. Today we're going to be looking at how to replace your fan belt on your Volkswagen Beetle or Combi. Checking your fan belt's condition is really important. You've got to make sure that the inner ribs themselves aren't cracked and that there's no signs of any wear or anything like that. And you need to be periodically checking the tension of the fan belt as well to make sure that it's not slipping, because that'll also cause the fan belt to become damaged. So replacing the fan belt on a Beetle or a Combi is really easy. The first thing we need to do is take off this nut on the alternator or the generator pulley, and what's going to happen is this pulley is going to fall into two halves, and then we're going to be able to slip the fan belt off here and then just work it around the bottom pulley until it comes free. And then putting it back on, we do exactly the opposite. We feed the fan belt around the bottom pulley and then we align the fan belt at the top. But there's a few things you've really got to take note of, and that's the shims and the washers that are involved between the two halves of the pulley. Basically, the shims make the gap smaller or bigger, which means the fan belt will have either more or less tension depending on how tight the two halves of the pulley is. If the pulley's obviously got more washers between it, then it's wider apart, and therefore the belt's going to have a little bit more free play. If you need to adjust your fan belt tension and make it tighter, then you need to remove some shims from between the pulley, and what you do is you put them around here between this bell washer and behind, just in front of the pulley here. So they become spares here, and therefore the gap between the two halves of the pulley close up and you get more tension on the belt. But we'll have a look at that in a minute. The easiest way to take the nut off the generator, because of course it'll spin as you try to undo it, is take a screwdriver, and you'll notice a rectangular slot in the back of the rear half of the pulley. Slot that in and lock it in into the alternator housing. And what that means is when you try and undo the belt, it's going to catch, lock the pulley in place, and the nut will come free. Let's give it a go. There we go. Now I can just undo it by hand. But before I take the pulley off, I'm going to set the nut aside. And I'm going to be very careful with how I place these shims down. So I'm going to put this half of the pulley separate with the shims and the bell washer as it is, because I'm happy with the tension of the belt. I'm just replacing the belt so that it doesn't wear out and snap. So the tension should be the same. If it's not, I might need to adjust it. But for now, I'm going to take these off together with the front pulley. And then you'll see when I do that, some shims are going to be between these two sides of the pulley, and I'm going to count those and just make sure they stay somewhere safe, separate from this, so I know exactly how it goes back together. So let's do this carefully. There we go. Now you can see the belt's free, and we've got a series of shims here sitting on the alternator itself. I'm not going to mix these up with the others. I might even just leave them there, but sometimes it pays to get them out of the way just in case the belt catches them. But in this case, I'm just going to leave them there, and then these ones will remain together as just one piece, which I'll keep over here separately. Now it's just as easy as working the belt around the bottom pulley. It comes free. Get that out of the way. So now we grab our new belt, take it out of the cardboard, and we'll do exactly the opposite. You just get in here and slip the belt underneath the bottom pulley, feed it underneath. It can be a little bit tight. That's on there. Now we get the other half of our pulley. Maybe take the washers off for now and just have the pulley. You'll see the pulley has a specific keyway. Swap my washers on there as well. And now we need to do up the nut. As you tighten the pulley, it's going to squeeze everything together, and you'll find the belt has tension. At the moment it doesn't look too flash, but it will get better as soon as we start tightening this up. We do exactly the same. Put the screwdriver in the slot of the pulley here, lock it against the alternator, and then we'll be away. And you can just spin it round, try and lift the belt until it's on there. As you can see, I'm doing it with one hand. It's pretty easy. There we go. It's starting to slip into place. Grab our screwdriver, lock it down inside the alternator, hold it tight, and start winding the nut in gently. Remembering just every now and then, take the screwdriver out, because we don't want to pinch the belt. Lock it on, and just give it a turn, so that it can come out of the pulley and not get stuck between the two halves. Starting to turn the motor over now, so it's got a good amount of tension. As you can see, that screwdriver is just holding itself in now. Nice and tight. And obviously just check your tension once you're done. And that doesn't seem too bad. It might need a little bit of adjustment, but of course there is supposed to be a little bit of play here, otherwise you're going to wear the bearings out prematurely in your alternator. You can also chew the belts out really quickly as well. Just make sure that the belt's not being pinched by the two halves of the pulley, but other than that, you're done.